In my humble opinion, there aren't a lot of good DC comics to really get excited about these days. I've really enjoyed Robin. Batman Superman World's Finest is absolutely brilliant. I really like Rogues. What else is there out there? Action Comics has been fantastic. One of the premier writers at DC Comics is abandoning one of those projects. I hinted at it during my DC Comics solicitation video, but I wanted to cover it more in depth here because not all hope is lost. You need to stick around for the second story I'm going to cover because they're actually related. You know what I'm saying? They kind of scissor together as one bigger story. And I think some people are actually more excited about what's going to come out of this than maybe what they're getting. So let's talk about Robin and the fact that Joshua Williamson is leaving the series very soon. Prolific DC writer Joshua Williamson is exiting as the regular writer of Robin ongoing series following August Robin number 17. Williamson tweeted, "Writing Damian has been some of my happiest times at DC. I love writing the series and the response to it has been a gift. For a lot of reasons, this felt like the right time to step off the title, but it's all good reasons. I've been writing a lot this last year. Running hot and leaving Robin, Batman, and Deathstroke Inc. lets me catch my breath a bit so I can focus on the end of Dark Crisis and my 2023 DC books and plans, including creator-owned books, all of which are very exciting." So there you have it, folks. Issue number 17, releasing in August, will be the final issue of Robin, written by Joshua Williamson. Robin has been a breath of fresh air in DC Comics. Damian Wayne is a cool character. Yeah, he's kind of a shithead, but there are a lot of interesting aspects of the character that I think Joshua Williamson was able to get right. We had that cool Lazarus tournament on Lazarus Island story that I thought was pretty good. Obviously, it led into this Shadow War event that, it hasn't been the greatest. There's going to be more on that tomorrow when I talk to Josh about all the DC comics that came out this week. But for the most part, Robin has been one of the very few DC comics you can go to every single month and know you're getting a quality story. He's introduced some cool new characters. Respawn obviously ended up being something different than what we anticipated, and more of a plot device. But Flatline has certainly been a real highlight for DC Comics. James Tynion introduced a lot of new Batman characters during his run, and I don't think many of them are actually all that memorable. They're kind of replacement characters for characters that already existed. Flatline seems quite unique. She's kind of the first love interest of Damian Wayne, has a real striking character design look about her, and has an interesting backstory. And it's certainly a character I wanted to explore further with Joshua Williamson, with Damian Wayne. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that. Hopefully they do revisit Flatline in the future and kind of flesh that character out a bit more in whatever her relationship ends up being with Robin by the time we get to the end of the series. But there's been a lot of really high points during Joshua Williamson's Robin run. I really like the way that he handled Connor Hawke and some of the other cool fighting characters that were associated with that story. But it is no more. Joshua Williamson is very, very busy. Obviously, he does have Dark Crisis. And as I mentioned, from what I'm being told, he's kind of the guy that's doing it all by himself. I imagine he is overwhelmed and overloaded with work, just trying to get that event out on time in a good condition with the story that he thinks, and I imagine DC Comics are really hoping is going to hit with readers and they're going to enjoy reading. As I mentioned earlier, all hope is not lost because this is leading into something. It's just not with Joshua Williamson. I imagine we won't be getting any more Robin after this, or it'll go on hiatus with the new writer maybe later on, but I don't think we're going to get any Robin in the meantime, but we are getting a new kind of special event series. Father and son go toe-to-toe in a new event limited series spinning out of Batman Superman World's Finest. That's Batman versus Robin, not Batman and Robin. Writer Mark Waid's DC Renaissance continues this September when he and artist Mahmoud Asrar and colorist Nathan Fairbairn team for a 5-issue limited series titled Batman versus Robin. The series, which will feature oversized issues, sees the always fraught relationship between Bruce Wayne and his son Damian Wayne bubble over into a full-blown conflict. DC is calling it an epic battle of icons, years in the making. There's certainly been a lot of friction between Damian Wayne and his father, Bruce Wayne. They don't always see eye to eye. In fact, I would say there are only like maybe 2 or 3 heroes within the DC Comics universe Damian Wayne respects. They would be Dick Grayson Nightwing and John Kent Superman. I don't get the impression that he even respects his father, and we've seen some key moments within this Shadow War event that Williamson has been writing where he's really generated a lot of friction between Damian Wayne and Bruce Wayne, specifically when Bruce kind of hints or blames Damian Wayne for the death of Alfred. Obviously, we know it's Bruce Wayne's fault. He actually abandoned the city and sent his teenage son in to go save Alfred while he was on the beach banging his old lady. Now, in this last issue of Robin, I think it's that one, he does admit his mistake. He kind of apologizes. But at this point, Damian has had so much loss that he ain't hearing it from Batman Bruce Wayne. There's certainly a lot of friction being built in there. And they say this is coming out of the events in Batman Superman World's Finest. We haven't seen Damian Wayne in that story, so I don't know where that's going to come from. But they are sort of building to it. I'm going to mention that here in a few minutes. We did see the mention of a major character that was introduced in Batman Superman World's Finest. Mark Waid has been doing phenomenal work on this series. I know a lot of people don't like Mark Waid, and they say, hey, I'll never give him money again. And I don't blame you. If you've decided to draw a line in the sand and say, Mark Waid and whatever publisher hires him, don't get my money, I completely understand that. But as a comic fan, as someone that reviews a lot of comic books from Marvel, DC, the indie comic books, it's the best comic book out there. If it's not the best, it's in the top 2 or 3. It's absolutely phenomenal. Really great characterization on Batman, Superman, Supergirl, Robin. Really cool stuff going on there. I didn't expect this to come out of Mark Waid. He hasn't really had a really great comic book in like a decade now. His time at Marvel Comics, there were some highs there, but it wasn't a lot of quality like you remembered from DC Comics, and it feels like he's kind of captured that magic that he had at one time. So I'm kind of excited about this. I want to see this Batman versus Robin, and to be quite frank, I'm kind of rooting for Damian Wayne in this one. I kind of like the character, and he's got a point. He's been mistreated by his father. He has a lot of reasons to mistrust him, and I think we're going to get a cool story for this. The series spins out of the events of Waid's Batman Superman World's Finest and the current Shadow War Batman Robin Deathstroke Inc. crossover by writer Joshua Williamson. Deep in the heart of Lazarus Island, the demonic legacy of the Al Ghul family line has at last been freed, and the devil Nazah is out for blood, reads DC's description of Batman versus Robin. Nazah is mentioned in the modern DCU for the first time in May 24th, Deathstroke Inc. #9, part of the Shadow War crossover, which partially explains the timing of the Batman versus Robin reveal. In the story, Talia tells her grandmother, Mother's Soul, that Reyes is dead. She responds by saying, I knew it. The prophecy is coming to pass, adding, the true demon will return. Nazah will rise. I definitely noticed that when I was reading Robin #14 this week, which would have been the second to last issue in the Shadow War event. Clearly, that is direct reference to this villain that is the main antagonist in Batman Superman World's Finest. Mark Waid is doing a really interesting story with this villain. He's very powerful. He's been around for, hundreds and thousands of years, but he was locked away in a tube. We've seen Robin, I believe it's Dick Grayson Robin, and Supergirl go back in time, and they're wanting to find out how did they capture him in the first place and how do they lock him there. And it sounds like they're actually going to lose Dick Grayson in time within this Batman Superman World's Finest story. And then in modern times, we have Devil Nazah risen, and he's kind of taken over a lot of the heroes and villains within the DC Comics universe. Batman Superman World's Finest is like a tour of the DC Comics universe, to be completely honest. Really interesting stuff going on there. I like how they're kind of incorporating the two stories together, letting you know something was happening. It's all leading to this Batman versus Robin limited event series from Mark Waid. We haven't seen a lot of Mahmoud Asrar at DC Comics lately. He's a fantastic artist. I think he'll be able to do this story justice, and it should be a lot of fun. So we are losing Robin from Joshua Williamson, and that is sad because it's been fantastic. The good news is Batman Superman World's Finest has probably been better. The first 3 issues have been absolutely dynamite. They've been perfect. The story by Mark Waid has been phenomenal. I like them using this Batman Superman story as well as what's going on in Shadow War and making something meaningful and kind of cool happen and seeing a conflict I think we've all been waiting for. I've been waiting for Damian Wayne to not only tell his dad off, but, kick him in the nuts as well. It's time for Damian to step up, and hopefully his romance or friendship with Flatline won't be over. Maybe she can come in and help him along the way. Damian's a cool character. I think he's been done dirty, but we've got this good Robin series, and hopefully Mark Waid is able to do it justice as well. Joshua Williamson mentioned in his tweets that he was leaving One of the reasons was he needed to concentrate on Dark Crisis and some of his other works. I recently talked about 2 of the Dark Crisis issues, specifically issues number 2 and issues number 3, and some of the things that they're doing that I think DC Comics readers are really going to like. And I think they're really going to be drawn to these things. These are kind of nostalgia bait. They're fan service, but I think they're really good ideas featuring Nightwing and Hal Jordan. If you don't know about this, definitely check it out because you might have a couple of Dark Crisis issues you want to read.